I want to thank President Rick Bloomingdale and Secretary-Treasurer Frank Snyder and all who are responsible for the invitation.
Freedom, the America that we believe is blessed by God, seems to be caught up in a tug of war between those who would be against a broad vision for freedom and for justice and equality in this country. We're seeing unprecedented attacks on the right to collective bargain, as if the labor movement is some haphazard, irreverent, and silly concern. We are seeing workers being branded as lazy, trade unionism branded almost like the McCarthy days as something that's un-American. No, they're not using words like communist or Red Scare. They're using words like right to work. If that were bad enough, voting is being attacked. Got a new poll tax now, voter ID bills all across the land, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Alabama, in southern states. We have an attorney general's office that seems to be moving stealthily slow, while on the front lines we are dying every day under the stranglehold of voter suppression. All across the land, voter ID laws are cropping up. We're seeing liberty being lynched. Liberty is that new strange fruit hanging from Billie Holiday's trees. Democracy is being destroyed, decimated, and being torn down in the very country that stands for the right to vote. Seeing across the land this movement of Republicans who don't know anything about republic, strapping themselves with rhetoric that calls our president a monkey, challenges his citizenship, and brands him as a Muslim, detonating bombs in the public economy. They would rather sink the ship to destroy the captain than make sure that the people at the bottom of the ship have the same benefits as those on the top. This reminds me of what Dr. King knew when he was in Birmingham's jail. Every law is not a good law. It's not the trouble in the land. It's not the struggle we're engaged in, because I'm not worried about the trouble. I'm worried about those who face the trouble. I'm not worried about the struggle. I'm not worried about the tug of war. You know, in the tug of war, you only really lose if you let go of the rope. Swimming pool, you only drown when you stop kicking. Fourth and goal, you only fail to score if you don't push your way through. If the troops say we're going to hold on to the rope and we're not going to let it go, well then to hell with the trouble. Labor movement is a great movement, but it cannot drown itself in whining about people not understanding labor. If Ray and Shaquita, Tyrone, Lisa, they don't understand collective bargaining, you might have to rap it. Not gift wrap it, but hip hop it. You might have to explain to those whose parents and grandparents benefited from the collective bargaining protections that were won for steel workers, and now that great-granddaughter is a surgeon or on her way to professional opportunities and does not realize what she stands on, you might have to educate her. We must re-engage the community. We must recapture the spirit of Walter Reuther, who partnered with Dr. King. He was not afraid of black preachers. He was not afraid of faith, but he said, you know what? King and I can do more together than we can do apart. Collective bargaining, the labor movement by itself is great organization. Black church by itself is great inspiration, but together we are more than enough. We fight back. Why do we fight back? We fight back because we know we're on the right side. We fight back because we stand on the side of the abolitionists. We stand on the side of the freedom riders and the freedom fighters. We stand on the side of those who fought for workers' rights. We stand on the side of those who fought for full employment and full suffrage for all of America's citizens. We fight back because we're on the right side. Don't let anybody in your ranks ever try to disabuse you of the confidence that you have in your conviction. We're on the right side. Somehow we have allowed the other side to capture God's language. We have allowed them to put prayer front and center. So they pray against health care for the nation. I'm so glad God can think for God's self. But we fight because we are righteous. That's a theological claim. We are right standing with the divine being. I don't know what your tradition is. You might not even have one. But even if you're an atheist, you believe the poor should be taken care of. Fighting for workers' rights. Fighting to put people over profits. Fighting for a war on poverty, not a war on the poor. This ain't just the right stuff. This is righteous stuff. And when you're righteous, you can tap into a deep, abiding, a spiritual power. How do you fight against the cancer of a culture that makes material possessions the apex of human freedom and seeks to disabuse us of our ability to be artistic and creative and loving and build and work in community? You can't fight that with public policy. You got to change the culture. If we'd waited on public policy, I'd still be a slave. We went on public policy, white women would not be able to be judges. Waiting on public policy, Barack Obama would not be in the White House. Waiting on public policy, the labor movement would be lopsided because it would have the right class sensibility but the wrong racial sensibility. So we never wait on public policy. If we wait on public policy, the banks will get richer. We wait on public policy, the insurance companies will never have integrity. And so we, the people, must stand in front of public policy. We must push the envelope and say we fight, we crusade for an America, and we're not just right, but we stand in a spiritual tradition. So we have become comfortable and have lost the spirit of rebellion. The spirit that says, I'm not going that way. I'm not sitting over there. I'm not even entertaining that conversation. The spirit that says, if I perish, let me perish. But I'm standing on principle. I'm standing for the children. I'm standing for those who lost unemployment. I'm standing for those who are in public education systems that are not trying to close the achievement gap. I'm standing for those. You heard about those hogs? Slaughterhouse. Downtown, right behind the business district, courthouse, retail, women shopping, men shopping, business being conducted right behind the business district, slaughterhouse. Those hogs didn't have a PhD. Those hogs had not been certified in negotiation. Those hogs could not speak multiple languages. They did not have great charismatic leadership. They're just hogs. Hogs on their way to the slaughter. Something inside of those hogs. Closer they got to the slaughterhouse, the louder they got. Closer they got to impending death, they would squeal at the top of their lungs. First, it was just small cacophony of voices. Soon it raised into a great symphony of rebellious protests. Hogs squealing on their way to the slaughter. You heard about what happened. They squealed so long and so loud that finally somebody said, we got to help these hogs. We need a city council meeting. The hogs could not vote. They did not have elected representation. But somehow there was a meeting, and they were the topic of discussion. Hogs squealed so loud that a resolution was passed. They said that if we got to do something with them, at least let's make it more humane. If we've got to do something with them, let's move the slaughterhouse away from downtown, out into a pasture. Let's change how we relate to them. And I close by telling you today, if you don't have AFL-CIO sense, if you don't have negotiation sense, if you don't have rebellious, rambunctious sense, at least you ought to have some hog sense. And while we're headed to the slaughter, don't be silent, but stand up and raise your voice and squeal as loud as you can. Thank you so much.